You are entering the space where memories collide and shoutouts happen at the beginning of the episode. Mega shout out to my main man Chris and Texas Family Harvest, without which these episodes might not even be made. Comrades, let me welcome you back with gratitude to a very special episode. I am Klyde, this is the Academy, and we're going to jump right in. So this installment might not be what you were expecting. We got this party started with an introduction into casual or beginner level Qigong, Tai Chi, and Kung Fu. Then we moved on to a bit more intermediate level movements and philosophy. Thus, it stands to reason, and you probably know where I'm going with this, that we will be moving into an introduction into some of the more advanced stuff. Now, before you have a chance to wonder why I'm stating the obvious, let me say firstly, if you've liked what we've done so far, you're going to really be enthralled with what we have next. Secondly, I want to get everything we got to get out of the way first, so we could focus on that when we arrive there. And lastly, and tending to those ends, let me return to that gratitude I mentioned. Guys, you have come to me with some of the most insightful queries I could have anticipated, especially this early on in the program. In fact, it does nothing short of inform me of a few things. It's a fine time for me to start embracing this a little more full-time, insofar as logistically that works. Because great students are just as infrequent as great instructors, if not more so, and it is not always evident who's doing the teaching. So B, in honor, in light of this opportunity, it's only fair that I get back to some of the stuff that I said I would return to in those first two videos as to the nature of where this is going, a little bit about me, I guess, channel stuff, channel update, as that would just be a courtesy I'd hope to be afforded at this point. And C, I don't want to spoil the surprise just yet, but there's always something awesome around the bend at the MK Academy. MK Academy. Is that catchy? MK? To surmise. Ultimately, we're getting anything and everything out of the way so we could focus clearly and distinctly when we get to the end of our Jing Quan series. Because let us not forget, folks, what we're moving on to is developing an experiential relationship with the flow of energy. Not simple stuff, but also very organic stuff. And naturally, surprises and specialty withstanding, we're going to learn a little something, but one thing at a time. Reflecting on it. Let's talk channel. I mentioned to you guys that I didn't want talking about me or talking about anything that wasn't relevant to what we're learning to interrupt that process. That said, there are going to come points when it's necessary to do just that. So since we haven't done this before, where to begin? Well, if years ago someone twisted my arm and said, Klyde, you gotta make a YouTube channel. What do you want to make it about? I'll be honest, I probably wouldn't have said Kung Fu and Tai Chi, despite the fact that it's been part of my life for 3 decades now. And what I might have said, perhaps nutritional science, big cornerstone of my interests. How about art in video games? Critiques, art critic, something like that. Perhaps tattooing, my favorite medium. Sculpting would have been another possibility. Wait, I might have said. I like thinking too much. Let's get into philosophy. Nah. Let's make a channel for all my bad music. Okay, hopefully at this point, you've picked up on the fact that I'm kidding and I'm an artist. So yes, outside of my existence as a metropolitan monk, I've made my way making various types of visual art. Yet nothing I've named has ever quite intrigued me as much as the spooky side of life. Now that isn't to say that I don't recognize the thermometer. Let me interject to say, artiste is stamped on my soul. Visual art, creating sources of inspiration, that is what I really live for, you know? Returning to the spooky stuff, though, yeah. Well, that is a much longer story. And while there will be time for storytelling, cutting to the chase, I likely would have made a UFO channel. Because I gotta say, no matter what you get into, it all comes back to UFOs. However, and this is where things get fun for this channel, as it turns out, meditating on it and really leveling with myself, Tai Chi, Qigong would become probably the most pertinent part of my spooky story. Or perhaps it would be most accurate to say, I am of the persuasion that if we are to, or intend to, attempt to dip our toes into the unseen world, then we should absolutely first be aware of our unseen selves. I pull no punches. Things that we're learning and going over here have saved my life, they have saved my mind, and they may have saved more than that. But again, we could get into the major storytelling some other time. Why is this relevant to the channel? Well, hopefully I've begun to paint a picture that's suggestive of something interdisciplinary here. That is to say, we are going to definitely explore at length, specifically, deep inner reflection. The Chinese term fanzing refers to deep personal or deep spiritual reflection. I think that surmises nicely what we're blending here. Interdisciplinary for the win. Fanzing, deep, personal, inner reflection, hopefully to the ends of expansion and growth. Okay, if you're sitting back going, yikes, I don't know where he's going with this. He seemed pretty grounded with Kung Fu. Now he's talking about UFOs. I understand. I anticipated as much. So let's take this abstract thing that I was describing now and make it a little more comprehensible, tangible. Alright guys, kidding aside, we're not going to linger on UFOs, at least not anymore here. Although we will get back to those notes at some point, at your guys' discretion. We don't necessarily have to, not anytime soon. But that said, it becomes relevant, accompanying an overview of all of this, to go back into something I glazed over in the first video, which was my lineage or background in martial arts, and all that is contributing to what we're doing here, what I kind of put together. So life saw fit to acquaint me with the martial arts at a very young age. A refuge to me, known as the Chinese Kung Fu Academy, became my home away from home and my surrogate family to a larger extended family in the Pai Lum Tao organization. That was the gateway, if you will, which introduced me to all of the various styles and derivatives thereof that are being incorporated and contributing here, which includes Pai Lum Tao Kung Fu, Bak Lin Pai Kempo, Pai Yong Tai Chi, some Wing Chun, Northern Shaolin, Southern Snake, 9 animal styles, Chinese kickboxing, Kuan Yin Qigong, and things like Iron Palm, Chin Na, Swai Chow, and I'm sure there's things I'm neglecting. I had the honor and privilege of training with some absolutely extraordinary sifus. They took a skeptical young lad who didn't really believe in vital energy. They didn't just let me know it was something real, they allowed me to feel it. Let me say, if doubt remains in one still, it will undoubtedly vanish the second you throw a punch at one of those guys, or gals. Soon thereafter, my attaining assistant instructorship, I was indeed assisting in a seminar where something was being demonstrated. I was asked to throw the example punch, and the particular strike was a crane's beak to the pressure points along the meridians in the arm. Now I was young, in very good shape then, so to totally lose the arm to a love tap, I think I knew right then that there was a long, mind-blowing, and world-expanding path ahead of me, and I wouldn't be disappointed. Now then, it's not just my hope, but my belief that this type of disciplined approach can more rapidly acquaint one with their auric reality or energetic dimension. Now I know those words don't seem very concrete right now, but if you made it this far, then I imagine you've already peeled back a layer on some of those. The idea is to adopt a martial practice blending the internal and the external, as Kung Fu was instructed to me as being intended. Again, cutting to the chase, keeping our eye on the prize, and being really enthusiastic about the fact that you're tapping into a dimension of yourself that is not only new, but extremely advantageous. I know, doubters, right? But what do we have to lose? And thus we have a roadmap. Alright folks, I'm going to try to be considerate and allow you to pay attention and read, only speaking when I need to point out something tinier, harder to see, or relevant. We are here at the beginning of our journey, the introduction into Qigong and Tai Chi. Allow this symbol, the Triskelion, to act as both roadmap and mirror of your journey to your potential, to individuation. Pointing out here that the channel's focus will remain Kung Fu, despite the fact that we will be tending to some complementary knowledge thereof. To that end, the instrument wishes to play the tune that navigates back to the heart, what the heart wants to hear. Riding the triangle means to keep in alignment our words, actions, and energy, in that each spiral stays concerned appropriately with the next. Consider this nothing short of a gift from the higher self, and how to arrive in those shoes, to actualize divinity. The way of gratitude. Now, with that aerial perspective, I do hope the acquisition of optimism has proven an organic process. We now run, not walk, back to Kung Fu and the Dantian. And to those ends, guys, thank you so much for your patience as we do this now on take 1092. And the reason for those takes is because I want this to come from the heart, which arrives me appropriately at the last detail of import before moving on. So if you will, allow me to offer a perspective, one bore of deep reflection. Consider courteously your future potential zenith, the most grandiose exhibition of your individuation, pointed now towards that potential self in wake of the erasure of that dirty word can't. Not an entity of tries, but does, and conceptualize the inevitable integration of all that was once called weakness, now as insurmountable strength. Smiling fortuitously and in gracious approval of your fervent dedication to fostering that sacred self-knowledge that is incarnationally vital, as both they and I thank you sincerely. But my comrades, this thanks is not empty. It is tangible. There is substance. Because for me personally, to be comfortable and present is more easily accomplished when we know we're pointed in a direction that is corollary for our necessary growth. So you guys, you see, that is what we are accomplishing for each other as we embark on this sojourn together. And naturally, me being on this side of the screen elicits the golden opportunity to express this gratitude for grace. Grace being the kindness that one is not necessarily deserving of. Because truly, that's what this feels like to me, to get to do this, to tend to my own passion in a way that's conducive to your own. Hey, that's what we're here for, or at the Academy with a K. So now, when I say thanks with substance, didn't someone say something about a surprise? Phew! It's a lot harder to talk about me than it is to talk about Kung Fu. So if you wouldn't mind, let's return to the familiar territory talk on energy regeneration and the Dantian. Because for all intent and purpose, we have actually begun to spill over into the chakra thesis discussion right there at the Dantian. And I gotta say, it's a good place to start. Alright friends, I'm going to allow you to read most of this. If you cannot retain all of it, do not fret. No one is quizzing you. The lower Dantian, the cauldron, the golden stove. The throne of your DNA, the seat of the atoms and electrons that are yet to become. Perfection is not required here. Passion, effort, they are. Qi Regeneration. You're using the same breathing that you used in the Jin Quan introductions. Reflect. Check your posture. Use these visuals to stimulate your senses. Feel the bubble form around you. The next step in the sanctity of this space: illuminate, heal, charge. You can do this. You're strong, you're loved, and you're learning. Ask the energy kindly, whatever it is on your heart. It wants to grant you this wish. This is not attraction. This is not a wager. This is not a gamble. This is magnetism. This is gravity. This isn't left to chance. This is a being truly living. The eternal, subtle body is your birthright. Rule the kingdom within you wisely, my friends. I hope you've enjoyed this. Our next episode will be the conclusion of Jin Quan as we move on with our advanced introduction. But first, didn't someone say something about a surprise? Why, yes! That warranted a big what? I think I just heard the sound of losing a subscriber. Allow me to introduce to you the chromatic. Actually, this one's not the prettiest. The chromatics. I've acquainted you all with plenty of my eccentricities for one day. If you recall, however, I just mentioned a few minutes back that I make a lot of art. So let me tell you about these little meditation pals. Long ago in a cold December, as Christmas drew near, a young Klyde was in dire need of some presents. Now the thing was, this young Klyde had believed erroneously that he could just fashion jewelry. Because hey, that's the type of thing that somebody who's never tried their hand at it could bang out a couple days before Christmas. Well, as it turns out, it was not as easy as young Klyde suspected. The result were abominations that were certainly not fit to be adorning humans. They were, however, shiny. So I thought to myself, what am I going to do with all these shiny things that don't exactly equate to anything recognizable? Well, I'll tell you what young Klyde did. He elected to put faces on them. Created in the Klyde image, with as much unconditional epoxy as could hold up in an easy bake oven. The passionate assemblage of crude spirit. Actually, the first ones just ended up looking like those claymation things from music videos in the 90s. But I really liked that stuff. So anyways, everyone got some pretty grotesque presents that year, and I thought I would just move on quietly. But I was not afforded that luxury. People came back. They said, "Hey Klyde, you making any more of those steampunk sculptures?" Now remember, the original models weren't exactly quite like these. Before I actually even knew what steampunk was, I was apparently beginning to explore the aesthetic unwittingly. So on and so forth, I continued to explore the aesthetic of steampunk, becoming more acquainted, being a featured steampunk artist at some exhibits. In any event, as the years have rolled on, I'd estimate I've made thousands of these, if not crossing into 5 digits by now. The chromatics are international. Whenever somebody was going somewhere far away, they found their way into the bags. Chromatics get around in random places all over creation, and the chromatics have no intention of stopping. So yes, I like to believe that they bring a little good tiding, a bit of my own inspiration to impart wherever they go, and even if they don't, they're a good conversation piece. They make an excellent regift. Alright guys, without further ado, let me tell you why I'm talking about all of this, which has absolutely nothing to do with Kung Fu. Well, thanks with substance, your patience, your dedication. I always believe one good turn deserves another. So how often is it on YouTube you get to win a handmade, one-of-a-kind, no two are the same, assemblage sculpture for your shelf? Well, I certainly can't imagine there being too many opportunities to win one as shiny as these guys. To enter to win a chromatic, actually, to win this chromatic, which still has a layer or two of customization to go, all you have to do is to like, subscribe, comment. That's it. No purchase necessary. And to those ends, allow me to take the opportunity to say there will never, ever be any purchase necessary for the curriculum, fanzine, deep reflection, the meditation, all of this stuff, guys. All of this stuff will never be behind a paywall. Period. That isn't to say, however, that I would deny anyone who wishes to be a patron of the odd little man that you see before you and these creepy creations. So we have set up a Patreon and Buy Me Coffee link down in the description. And in the Patreon, I've come up creatively with some cool tiers of a lot of bonus material. But look, the reason I'm saying it here is to reiterate, in full transparency, that you will not miss out on anything here by not subscribing there. But hey, if you want to coordinate on a one-on-one basis to get some art made for any particular reason or fill your shelf, there is an outlet and avenue to do that, and I will make sure we have a lot of fun in other ways there. Alright, enough said, guys. Thank you. Again, real quick, all you gotta do to enter the chromatic giveaway is simply like, subscribe, do the stuff, you know. Put a comment down below that you did so. Tell me they're ugly, you don't like the colors, you don't like my shirt, I got something on my face, say whatever you want. That's all it takes to enter. So the announcement of the conclusion of the giveaway will probably be in a video or two after. It seems as though there's been ample opportunity for everyone to get a comment in who wanted to. Alright, now I hope all of this goofy stuff has been fun. We're going to keep it fun, but if it's not fun to you particularly, just ignore it, as we're getting back to the good stuff. Finally. Finally.